the other day, we had egregiousness in the officiating ranks in college football, and we have that a lot, and we really didn't get answers that sufficed. So I said a lot about it on the Sunday show. I clipped it, I put it on Twitter, and a lot of people had a lot to say about it. Kyle hit me. I got nothing against you, Kyle. I respect you. I just wanted to respond to what you said. So Kyle came at me. He said, I'm an official. Just because you don't see it doesn't mean we don't answer for it. We are analyzed on the accuracy of calls and procedure at every level. I guarantee there will be repercussions, and some of these officials will serve suspensions. You just don't know their names. Well, actually, I do know their names. It just is irresponsible to throw them out there. But your point is taken, Kyle. I think it was kind of misguided. Not that you're wrong. You know more about your profession than I do, a lot more about it. So I got all the respect in the world for umpires, for officials. Very rarely do you hear me argue vehemently against calls and whatnot, because I know we've got humans doing this, so they're imperfect. I don't ever even whiff any allegation of underhandedness or betting getting involved. And you guys who are throwing that out there, you are so far off the mark about why officiating occasionally goes sideways. I mean, the whole concept that sports betting has made officiating more sketchy. Sports betting has made it less sketchy because now it's monitored by the most powerful eyes in the world. And you can either believe me on that or not. I know what I'm talking about on that front because I know the people responsible for it. So sports betting proliferating the sporting community like it does and the legalization of it, I promise you, gets officiating more in line and makes it more likely that crooked officiating isn't tolerated anymore. So I don't ever go down that road because it's a waste of time. What I do say is there's no transparency in this stuff right now, and it's inexcusable. Notice what Kyle said there. Kyle said, hey, we're held to a standard. Well, that's fine, Kyle. We just want to know what the standard is. Kyle said, well, I mean, we're taken to task on this. We are corrected. We're analyzed. We just want to see it, Kyle. We want to see it because at the end of the day, it is owed to us. It's owed to us the same way that coaches sometimes have to talk to the media, which is a conduit to talk to fans. Players do that as well. And sometimes you can get so insulated, whether you're an official or whether you're a coach or whether you're a player, that you get turned off by that notion. And it's like, well, what do we owe the fans? Everything. You owe the fans everything because the entire impetus for you existing and millions of people having their eyes on you, and if you're a coach making millions of dollars, if you're a player making big money now or marketing and branding yourself to make big money down the road, is because enough people care about what you do. You don't work at NASA. You're not a government official. You don't work in a world, in other words, where there may be interest, but it's really nobody's business what you're doing. It's everybody's business what you're doing. You're providing or you're participating in a form of entertainment. Football is not the football business. It's the entertainment business, and football exists in the entertainment business. And whether you've ever viewed yourself like this or not, you play a role in it. And a lot of people are paid a lot of money to coach this game, and a lot of people's careers ride on the outcomes of these games. I'm not talking about me, I'm talking about players and coaches. And they get held accountable for making the play or not making the play. That publicly, they get held accountable for making the right call, for recruiting the right kids, for making the right decisions and the right hires or not. And sometimes they pay for it with their job, but ultimately they're judged on wins and losses. And if you're determining that based on the outcomes of some of your calls, and we've seen very high-profile situations of that nature this year, you ought to have to answer for it. There ought to be transparency. And if you get a call wrong, then coaches and administration types are certainly owed an answer. I'm owed an answer as a fan. I'm owed an answer because I invest in this financially and emotionally. So I'm owed something. So there ought to be transparency and there ought to be accountability. And don't just tell me you're being held accountable, because I'm telling you right now, I turn on these SEC games, I see the same dudes officiating I have for the past 15 or 20 years. And it's the same in other conferences. So don't be telling me that. I've turned on Major League Baseball games for years. Angel Hernandez was an abomination when he was behind the plate. And only just in the past year Did Major League Baseball find a way to get rid of him? Why? Well, in their case, they had a union. In the college football case, it's because no one really actually knows what goes on behind the curtain. And with how popular this sport is, with how much it is wagered on, and with how many careers are riding on the outcomes of these games, it's no longer good enough for league officials or the heads of officiating to just say, we got it, then show us you got it. And if you don't, then someone else ought to be in your position. But at the very least, you owe people who make it possible for you to have the job you have answers and transparency. No one's asking you to be perfect. No one's claiming that you ought to never screw up a call. Everyone would. The only way to avoid that is AI officials. I'm not sure how to do that. I think we could put microchips in footballs to avoid you guys spotting them. That's another segment for another time. But you absolutely do owe people explanations and transparency. How in the world we ever got this far down the road without transparency is beyond me. I cannot believe that this sport exists at the level and magnitude that it does today, and we have something as integral a part of it as officiating, which matters on every play and determines sometimes the trajectory or outright outcome of a game, and you don't ever have to give a public account for it. Maybe if we're lucky, you'll issue a statement on a game. Maybe if coaches are lucky, you'll tell them 2 days later, we may have screwed up that call. You don't change anything, but maybe a couple of days later. Coaches are held accountable, players are held accountable, officials ought to be the exact same way.